Well, first of all, I just wanted to say that I'm really pissed off because I've just had to go out and buy a whole new set of makeup after I left my water bottle open in my bag. Yeah. It had all disintegrated, all gone soft and soggy and horrible, so I've just spent 30 quid on a whole new load of makeup. So that's the first thing. But the real reason I wanted to make this video is because I wanted to talk to you about this book. It's backwards, I know, or maybe it isn't, I don't know. But it's a book called Shoot the Damn Dog, and it's by Sally Brampton. It's a memoir of depression. And I haven't finished it yet, but I'm really enjoying it. It's really sad, but I'm really enjoying it because even though I haven't got anywhere near as severe depression as what Sally had, I relate to it so much. And I wanted to read you a passage. There's so many great passages, but I think this one is particularly. This one I just felt like I could have been writing it, particularly because I feel very strongly about how mental illness isn't always considered an illness because it's not physical. So I don't know exactly how much I'm going to read, but I'm just going to read you a bit. She's talking about suicide. I thought at the time, and I think it still, that promising a depressive that they will get well is like telling somebody who has just broken their ankle that it will heal in 3 or 6 or 9 months' time, but being able to offer them very little to relieve their present agony. In cases of severe depression, it's like giving an aspirin for a broken leg. Except that, and here's the really crucial difference, we know the given timescale within which bones heal. We know why and we know how. Nobody knows how a depressive heals. We don't know why, but we don't know why and we don't know how, but it does. I say that at the risk of infuriating any depressive reading this book, just as my therapist infuriated me. I know how you feel. I know terribly how you feel. There are no time limits and there are no guarantees, but if you can just hold on through the worst of the pain, its quality will change. Not all at once, but slowly, if you catch glimpses of the self that you used to know and the life you used to have. It is important, though, to try to believe in life even at a time when belief seems impossible, even when death seems preferable. It is important, too, to accept that severe depression is an illness of body as well as mind, and that both have a profound capacity for healing. I can say that because I know, because I've been there. My irritation with my therapist was that she was speaking intellectually, not from the heart or the soul of experience. What I do know, from my own experience of that and that of other depressives, is that severe depression and suicidal preoccupation are absolute intimates. They are inseparable, like the way psychiatrist John Greedon at the University of Michigan puts it. Suicidal thoughts are to depression what fever is to pneumonia. It is important that depressives understand that suicidal preoccupation is not a matter of shame or guilt. It is simply a clinical symptom of an illness. It may feel like a reality, but as John Greedon says, it is only a passing manifestation, turn the page, like high fever, that will, in time, abate. I knew, when my preoccupation with suicide began to diminish, that I was getting well again. Suicide is so much a part of the illness that 20% of people with severe depression will make a suicide attempt, while half of those with bipolar depression may do so. Someone in a first depressive episode is particularly likely to attempt suicide, while those who have been through a few episodes are less likely to do so, presumably because they have learned to live with their illness, and to believe that, eventually, it will pass. These days, I rarely think about suicide, unless I happen to be passing through one of my infrequent black holes. On days like that I cannot think, cannot feel, but above all, I cannot connect. I remember standing in my garden, a place that I love, and looking at a flower, blooming on a plant that I had grown from a seed. Ordinarily, I take intense pleasure in plants, and being naturally selfish, in plants that I personally have grown, but on that particular day I looked at the flower and felt nothing, not even interest. It was a flower, an object, a thing with no power to rouse admiration or pleasure or wonder. And I thought, this is depression, this absolute and complete lack of connection to life. At times like that, suicide, or death, presses heavily on the mind. If I cannot live, I cannot connect with my life, but am doomed, forever, to have my face pressed against the window, watching it pass by me, then why not die? What is that already, if not a living death? I used to think that I was alone in these thoughts until I heard a man say, in group therapy, that he had spent the past week considering all the ways in which he might kill himself. But I know now, he said, not to take my mind too seriously. It's simply AST, or automatic suicidal thinking. He paused comically. Doesn't everybody have that? These days, whenever he or I are focused too much on death, we say to each other, oh, that's just AST. Doesn't everyone have that? It reduces the terror and taboo of our thoughts to a commonplace, a shared symptom that will pass. If we can bring our most unmanageable thoughts into the open, we can reduce their terror. Fear grows in the dark. I used to tell nobody about my suicidal thoughts. I thought that they were too appalling, too unmentionable to be allowed. But when I felt that, I used to go to bed and stay there, unable to face the horribly changed world, waiting for my focus to shift back to normality. Now, I do two things. First, I tell somebody how I feel. Obviously, I choose that person carefully. Some people panic at the very word of suicide, and panic is the last thing that I need. It makes me feel ashamed of my thoughts, and shame makes me feel wretched. It makes me feel so wretched that my preoccupation with suicide grows even worse. Secondly, I force myself to go through the ordinary, domestic motions of life. Even small achievements help, washing up a mug, throwing out a pile of newspapers. So does going for a walk, particularly first thing in the morning, which is when my depression is at its worst. It is my black dog hour. And I think that's all I'm going to read. I just thought that passage was, first of all, I so related to it. Not on the suicide level, but on the level of how she's feeling. But also on the level of the stigma. I had a lot of problems with the stigma of mental illness. And I think the way she wrote that is, it just puts it in such an understandable context. And I think everybody, even if you've got no experience of depression at all, or mental illness, either yourself or your family have to read Shoot the Damn Dog by Sally Brampton. It's so well written, and it's so easy to read. And if you do have depression or some sort of anxiety yourself, then you will be inspired and motivated to get better by it. You will understand it. It'll make you feel like you're not alone. If you have a family member or a friend who is going through something similar to what Sally went through, you will be able to understand them better and know how better to help them. And as I said, if you've got no experience of anything at all, it's just a great read to help you understand mental illness better. I think that's so important. Obviously, I'm not saying that it actually perfectly encapsulates everybody's experience, because everybody's experience is different, but it is just one opinion, one possibility. That's all I'm going to say. Have a good day.